regular
What stuff?
Welcome back to Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. I am Jamie G. Esquire the Fifth, and I can produce a cleaver. Just ask Christopher. As usual, I'm here with Magnum Mills and the Soup Deucer to talk about stuff that we've been watching. Our feature review this week is an anthology joint from the 90s, 1995 to be exact, 4 Rooms. Soup, when somebody requests a block of wood, 3 nails, a ball of twine, a bucket of ice, a donut, a club sandwich, and a hatchet sharper than the devil himself, are you answering their call?
Oh, absolutely, because you know that's going to be a good time. That's a recipe,
Yes,
right there.
yes.
Could go anywhere.
I mean, maybe I thought maybe the club sandwich was just yours or something.
That's for me.
That's mine.
I mean, seriously. I mean, maybe it's just the golf thing. I'm like all like open-faced club sandwich.
Yes.
And that is a Simpsons reference, and this is Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. Thank you very much for checking this out. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, on social media at Dudes Watch Stuff. Same place on the interwebs, regulardudeswatchstuff.com, dudeswatchstuff.com. We've got it locked down. We make it easy to remember, just like the flaps. Follow, like, and please subscribe. Even if you can't remember your room number, just remember to hit that thumb if you had the fun. Super important to us. You don't even have to tip us. No tip, just the thumb. 1 thumb, no tip. Thank you, please. We're on to the next one.
Spoken like a man who loves the thumb. Before we can check into the hotel on New Year's Eve, we need to fill these holes in this house. There's some holes in this house. Soup, what have you been filling your holes with recently? And I say that with absolute sincerity.
Well, sincerely, I will let you know that I have not done a whole lot of hole filling over the past week, other than...
I'm sorry that you haven't. Your holes deserve to be filled. Every one of them.
Sure, of course. Just the usual stuff, and the highlight or the main thing here would be the finale of Curb Your Enthusiasm. I've been keeping up with the season. I've been watching it for a bunch of years and keeping up with the new season, and it finally wrapped.
Decades, maybe even. It's been going, I believe, since the Clinton administration. That's how long Curb has been running for. The Soup, I've also watched it too, and we independently here, because Jamie G is not there yet, we have done a little spoiler jointski, which you are about to see and or listen to right now. Gonna just put it out there. It's a little spoiler alert for Curb Your Enthusiasm, the entire series, most specifically the series finale, season 12, but the whole thing, it's in play here, as well as the Seinfeld series, Seinfeld finale, probably going to come up here. So that's your spoiler warning. Soup, we both seen the series finale for Curb Your Enthusiasm. Currently, it's the highest rated episode of the series on IMDb. Seems like everybody loved it. I think I probably loved it. How about yourself?
I did, and during it, I was kind of like, wondering where they were going to go. Are they going to continue with, kind of like the, almost like the Seinfeld copycat thing happening? But it turned out to be a really cool, wrap up at the end there. And I was very happy with it. I hate to see a show end, especially one that I liked and has been around for so long, but it was a good way to go out, man, and this entire season has just been, every episode's been a zinger, man. So, real happy with the way, we're real happy with the way they wrapped it up entirely as a final season, and going into the finale, it was, it was a kind of like what you would think would happen, and then a little bit more of a twist, which made it, just some extra.
Right, when he's in jail, he's talking about the pants that it's right, just like during the Seinfeld finale, talking about the button, a call back to the pilot episode. It looks like they're setting up, and Jerry is just a literal deus ex machina, from God, because he caught the guy at the taco place. That was just such a nice random. I remember when that happened, I'm like, boy, that was a random scene for no reason, right? And then the fact that it came back around that he was one of the jurors or whatever, and just the fact when they're walking out, the little, maybe this is how we should have ended the Seinfeld finale. so meta,
It
for
was
a show that is,
heavy, dude. Yeah.
sometimes not wanted to quite go there. I know they did, quite, tongue in cheek very firmly during the season 7 there, the Seinfeld season,
Yeah.
but it paid it off, and it was a fine line to dance. I thought it was cool that basically all of the main recurring characters got a moment, whether it was the car thing, or the Richard and the girlfriend whole bit, and then the hot sauce bit. Everyone kind of got the thing. Leon got a couple of moments here and there to do his Leon thing, and then you got all the people they brought back. I mean, yeah, obviously, you're going to see Cheryl, you're going to see Ted Danson probably, but bringing back like Bruce Springsteen, Vin Min, Dean Norris as the judge was great. Should just throw that out there. Just a lot of great callbacks. Again, a little bit like the Seinfeld finale. I thought they did it, but they didn't go completely overboard with it. Just on the idea, like, Ted Danson being out there protesting, just like he was always the quote unquote, anonymous donor who everyone knew it was him kind of deal. I think extremely well written. Larry David.
Oh yeah.
There was nothing problem with the writing of the Seinfeld finale. I think just people were like, huh, that's how it's going to end. How you're going to do that. And so this year, they managed to go right up to the edge of that and then kind of put a fun little twist on it. I thought they really pulled it off, which is not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah, and Jerry, this might not be an absolute direct quote, but he's like, nobody wants to see that. With him being, he's like, you got to get out of here, and I just thought that was really cool. And I thought his presence and his, the way he came into this last episode was really important, and the way it tied up was that he was very important in it, so it worked out really well, man. I like that he played along and was a major part of this, wrap up for the Curbs.
How about the whole plot here with Cynthia, played by Allison Janney? This is the woman that Richard dated back in the day. And apparently she had attempted suicide, or she told Richard that after they broke up, and now they're together again. And it turns out it's the same chick that wouldn't let Larry get over on I-85, I think, when him and Leon are driving there, and then they find out.
Yeah,
I was so sure. Dude, she never did. And I was so sure that Larry was going to be winning his trial, but then he was going to blow it because he was going to find some way to get her on the stand and then make his lawyer ask about the suicide and the lane change thing and everything. I was shocked that it never came up, kind of. I didn't mind the way it paid off, really. But I mean, it just, R.I.P. Richard Lewis, too. It's kind of fun to see him here. He's obviously very frail and everything like that, but he's still apparently, really getting it done between the sheets and everything. So,
yeah, man.
He went out with a bang, literally.
Yes, absolutely. And, and there's a lot of like, with that character, it's, there's loopholes there. She told him this, and she told him this, and she told Larry this.
They leave it open, definitely, except for the fact that she was definitely the chick in the car. So, if she's lying about that, it's one of those things you assume she's lying about everything, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Any of the particular callbacks that stand out the best for you? I mean, Springsteen was decent, bringing back the whole thing with the golf pro. I thought was pretty inspired. That was a really good one. Any of them stick out for you as far as the bringing up the other stuff back? I mean, I forgot Larry getting caught with the blow up doll. I mean, there's just a lot of random. I mean, exhuming corpses, robbing houses, the trick or treater stuff. I mean, there's a ton of call outs here, and it's just pretty good. I really enjoyed all of them.
It's hard to pinpoint one that I can really like nail as my favorite. I just liked that it was part of that was part of it, and some of these things you forget about that happened like, seasons ago and everything else. And all of a sudden it's, now this is, in the trial or whatever, just, trying to point out.
I forgot when he hired the hooker and the lady to get to the Dodgers game or whatever. I forgot about that one. That was always one of my favorites. It's just one of the more subtle things. And it's so Larry David, basically.
Yeah, and very similar to the Seinfeld thing, just pointing out how, hey, these are bad people, but are they really, or is it just people being people? And I mean, so there was a lot of that. And it almost got irritating to a point where, like, he's not on trial for all this shit. He's on trial for giving somebody a
right. They don't have to prove he's an asshole. Like that was implied,
asshole or not. But I mean, that was the main focus, and it's what made the show. And I get it. But again, at the same time, like during it, I was a little bit frustrated because if it were me, I would have been like, yo, this is bullshit. None of this shit is even like, relevant. So, but again, for the show and for, TV or whatever, it worked. And I think it worked really well, man. I was happy with the way it wrapped up,
You like the kind of the final shots there of them all on the plane arguing together?
Yeah, I think it was very fitting, just because it's them being them, and that's what it's going to be.
And I mean, no lessons learned, right? They took the Seinfeld ethos all the way to the point. I love when Larry, like, he's going to give the kid, like, teach him a lesson. He's like, here's the deal, kid. I never learned a lesson in my whole life. I thought that was cool. Like, even at the very end, they're just annoying everyone that's on the plane with them. It definitely is no lessons learned. So I think overall, it's a very satisfying finale, especially for a show that's been on, I believe, since the late Clinton administration. Maybe that's when the first special that sets up the show aired or whatever. I think it was 99, like early 99.
But I do like there was a throwback again. You mentioned the pants stamp, but that was the first scene in the first episode was him, fucking with that. And then again, it comes up in the, at the end in the jail cell there. And he's,
Right, just like Seinfeld referred to a button. That was a conversation from the pilot. So there was the callback to a callback to a callback. I will say that The Ringer, I believe, ranked all of the episodes on Curb, and they were a lot lower on this season than I would have thought. They had the finale in the top 10. I don't know that they had another episode from season 12 in the top 40 or 50. And you had to scroll down
I would disagree because maybe it's just fresh in my brain because it's like the newer.
I think that's a little bit of it, but I think there's a couple in there that'll be pretty good when it's all said and done. So, if you watch this without seeing it, or maybe you'd watch Curb and, you didn't need to see the finale. There's not a lot you can really spoil. Again, it keeps going after this or whatever you want it to be. There's no definitive ending. It can, in your brain, it can go on forever. So I don't know that you really can be spoiled, and it was good and you should watch it.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. And again, I do think that every episode of this last season was, I can't figure, I don't think there's one that was like, that I'll pass over, be like, that one sucked. I think they were all pretty solid,
Yeah, they at least had high floors. There weren't like, I don't know if there were any certified classics other than maybe the finale, but they were all super solid. And sometimes, especially in the earlier seasons, you would get the occasional episode or two that was like, it was just a little, maybe it didn't do it for you. And here, I think the overall quality was just super solid, especially again for a season, for 12th season, but 20th year or 25th year or whatever it has been since actually began production on this thing. So yeah, that was Curb Your Enthusiasm. We enjoyed it. It did not curb our enthusiasm. And back to your regularly scheduled dudes. And we're back. Soup and I both checked out Curb. And Jamie G, have you been checking out the Curb at all? Did we draw you into season 12? What's your status on Curb? We know you're not at the finale yet.
I'm not anywhere near the finale, but you have drugged me into the Curb. I'm in episode 4. I believe they've left Atlanta. The Atlanta episodes were fantastic. Really enjoyed that. It's so good. And we're back in Los Angeles here, and big fan so far, dude. Each one's been fun, fast paced, great writing, things coming together throughout, and then kind of delivering at the end. It's been comical, funny. It's just Larry David shit, dude. Everyday shit that happens to you in your life, but he has this gift of being able to present it in such a funny way, and it's so real and raw, and be like, damn, dude, I could totally see myself in that situation, but it's so funny. And I think the supporting cast has been great. I did notice, and I mentioned, you guys mentioned this early on, Richard Lewis, and again, rest in peace, Richard Lewis. Obviously that he's really sick here, but I almost died at the sperm bit where, Vince Vaughn's character is sleeping with his neighbor's wife intentionally to get her pregnant because the neighbor cannot. And then he was out of town, and Richard Lewis was like, I sign up. And Larry David's like, what do you have, 3 sperm? I'm still laughing about that. Really funny stuff. I thought it was really cool to have that be Richard Lewis's last ride. And so far, so good on the season. Great recommendation, guys. If you guys haven't watched it, go out there and watch it. It's a ton of fun. DM me, and I'll give you my HBO Max password if you ask nicely.
Wow, that's really yeah. Please subscribe at least when you're doing that. Well, that's for a little bit more than the club here. Yeah. We're asking for a little bit of a twofer there. Before I get back to you, I'll just say I am keeping current with Shogun, FX Hulu, not done yet, approaching the end. It's just a 1-season, 10-shot deal. So if you haven't checked it out, do so. It's on Hulu. Like I said, they have an English dub if the subtitles are a little bit much for you. And I've also been watching the Star Wars The Bad Batch, the animated series, coming close to its end in the 3rd season. very good. Especially if you were a fan of the Clone Wars and everything like that back in the day. Wasn't the biggest fan of it when it started back in 2021, I think. It's definitely picked up for me, so pretty cool. It's coming to a conclusion. That one's on the Disney Plus. Jamie G, what else have you been filling your holes with?
I said it last week, and I don't think anybody heard me, so I'm going to say it again because I went back and rewatched it. That's how vivid, that's how just like, wow, dude, like I'm scared to be home alone type feeling. This will elevate your mind and make you think in a way that you probably haven't recently. And I encourage you. I'm like Smoke Dog in the first Friday. Elevate your mind, Craig. That's what I'm asking you for here, man, because Octopus Murders on Netflix is one of the best documentaries you can watch right now. It's a 4-part series. It's absolutely phenomenal. An investigative journalist in 1990 discovers a new story, follows it. In 1991, he is found dead in a hotel room, claimed suicide, incredibly suspicious circumstances. The web of which he uncovered during his year and a half of investigating this, right before it broke loose and he was found dead, is absolutely astonishing. And I'm sorry for everyone out there who's like, oh, Reagan was this incredible president. This is not a dag on Reagan, but a lot of crazy shit because of the emergence of the CIA went on during his administration. And I think that this is a just mind-bending, eye-opening documentary. Highly recommend The Octopus Murders. It was phenomenal. I've watched it 3 times in 4 weeks, and it is absolutely amazing. If that's not on your list, put it on there right now.
Very great pitch, and probably the only chance I will ever get to throw it to the random Ollie North song from American Dad. So here you go.
In the 80s, there was Cold War drama. We fought the commies inside Nicaragua. Our friends were the Contras. Freedom was their mantra, so we sent them lots of money for guns and landmines. But Congress stopped the Contra money flow just 'cause they moved a teeny bit of blow. But then a hero came forth. His name was Oliver North. He and Reagan went around the sissy Congress. Ollie North, Ollie North.
The Iran contraband. That's big. It's a big deal during Reagan's administration. Reagan had a lot of scandals, dude. We just didn't have.
There were a couple things going on in the 80s. Surprisingly, it wasn't all Wall Street and whatnot. One of the things that happened in the 80s was the original Dune movie by David Lynch. If you haven't checked it out, you should. Then there was the latest Dune movie, and now there's Dune Part 2. I have finally seen it. It's very good. I don't know what else to say. It's kind of a Lord of the Rings level. There's a lot of world building. You have to pay a little bit of attention or whatever. There's some stuff going on. It helps to rewatch, obviously, the first Dune and everything like that, but brilliantly made. Incredible job, from what I understand, to kind of breaking down this story and making it somewhat palatable for a real audience. It's kind of high fantasy in the books. Like, the books were too daunting for me to get into, and I read, I've read some fairly daunting stuff, and just Dune is, the mythology and everything, it's kind of crazy, and I didn't know that I would really be into it. Even the David Lynch thing was just kind of cool. It wasn't necessarily the best movie, but it was like, oh, that's about as good as anyone could do with the technology of the time, and I think it's amazing what they've done. So if you haven't checked out Dune 2, at least when it comes out on streaming, do so. Definitely worth it. And I also have to give a hearty recommendation to Fallout from Amazon. Honestly, it surprised me. I was sure they were new the thing where they dropped the 3 episodes. It's an 8-episode season. I'm like, all right, they'll drop the 3, and then, they do one at a time. They dropped the entire first season. I think it probably made sense because I have played Fallout 4. I played New Vegas a little bit, but nothing crazy. I'm definitely not a stan of the games or whatever. The world building, it looks great. It's really cool. It reminds me a lot of Westworld, and this is Jonathan Nolan, Lisa Joy, the people who made Westworld. Nolan directs the first 3 episodes. Again, he's written, Memento, a lot of good stuff. The writing is really well done here. Great cast overall. We love Walton Goggins. You're throwing, it was Ella Purnell. It's remember Jackie from Yellow Jackets? She's the female lead here. The chick who played Jackie on Yellow Jackets. She's great. obviously Goggins, you got Kyle MacLachlan, you have a bunch of other supporting characters. Very good, all available on Amazon right now. And all you have to do is sit through like a 45-second Samsung joint at the beginning of each episode, and that's it. It's limited commercials, even if you're not paying for the no ads. So that's a nice plus there. I was definitely pleasantly surprised. I didn't know that I didn't know if I was going to really like it or not. And I really did. It's certainly different than The Last of Us. There are similarities in that it's based on these games, but this is a series that's definitely tongue in cheek. It has a lot of fun with it. Walton Goggins there's certainly elements of, obviously, a Boyd Crowder-esque cowboy in there, and it really works for me. It's a really weird mash. Fallout is kind of like, what if the nuclear technology went crazy, but everything still looked like the 1950s kind of? So it's got like almost like a post-apocalyptic Jetsons feel to it a little bit, as weird as that sounds. Because some of the technology is like super basic, but also more advanced than our current technology. Kind of like the old Star Wars looked a little bit or whatever. Just looks great, well acted. It's all there. If you start watching it, my guess is it'll suck you in. So that's my pitch. Watch Fallout.
Dude, right on, man. You know what? The other thing I was going to mention, because I didn't get around to watching a whole lot, and I did. The Fallout got a lot of hype or whatever, and I was looking into it, and I was like, man, maybe I'll latch onto this one real quick. So I did start watching it. I did not even get through the entire first episode, not because it was bad, but because I was just exhausted and fell asleep towards the end. So it is something that is on my list, and I will continue. I'm planning on continuing watching and maybe talking about next week. But I like that I got the good review from you, so that'll make me want to watch it a little bit more. Not that I wasn't going to anyway, but I like what I saw. And I never did play the games, which I guess is kind of weird, but I like what's going on here. So
all games are hard, dude. They're very complex, and like there's a lot going on. And I actually didn't even finish Fallout 4. I got stuck. Even with now, I remember back in the day, you get stuck because you couldn't afford to buy a game guide. Now that it's all online, and I still got stuck for what that's worth. But there's a lot. It's one of those games. There's a lot of different ways you can kind of beat it. You get different endings depending on how you go about it. Who you kill, who you ally yourself with, and everything like that. And there's definitely a sense of going through the series again, especially if you enjoyed Westworld. You will like this. It's shot in a similar way. The music will remind you of it. Like you get kind of Westworld vibes, but I mean that in a good way.
Right on.
Love it, dude. Well, that's enough about the current holes here. How about we fill our future holes? It's time for the hype train. Mills, what are you hyped about?
As bad as it is, I'm going to do a little one first and just go with Clipped. This is a sports miniseries from Hulu, and it's about what happened with the Los Angeles Clippers when all the shit went down with Donald Sterling, and the Clippers almost wound up boycotting a playoff game. Pretty crazy stuff here. You have Lawrence Fishburne playing Doc Rivers. Kind of interested in that one. Sounds cool. Again, just going to be out there. FX Hulu, they have a very high hit rate for me. And I have to say, I kind of like the Bad Boys Ride or Die trailer. Will Smith, I don't know, Martin Lawrence, you're sucking me in one more time. Now they're doing finally the twist, like, oh, they're going to be on the run now. I'm kind of there for it. I hate to admit it. It's the same guys who did Bad Boys 3, which was a nice kind of change up from Michael Bay as far as the way it's shot. It's not quite as frantic. I really enjoyed it. So I think I'm there for Bad Boys Ride or Die. Soup, what are you hyped for, man?
Honestly, I have not been paying much attention over the past few here, but one thing that I certainly am looking forward to coming up is any footage I can possibly see from the Fish residency at the Sphere in Vegas, which I'm sure is going to be fucking phenomenal. So definitely looking forward to getting a little mind blown from that. And also, we have the upcoming draft. I'm looking forward to that too. I know it's still probably a couple weeks away, but I don't have a whole lot to look forward to right now. So I'm latching on to these couple of things, man, and that's kind of where I'm at with it right now. Man.
More specifically, that Buffalo Bills first round pick in that NFL draft.
Well,
right?
it's very
Hopefully,
curious
a wide receiver.
they have, I don't know what they're, I don't know. The moves they've been making doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. So maybe this will kind of tie some things together. We'll see what happens. But anyway, I'm very curious about it. So
they're streaming that Fish joint, right? Like, what does that cost? Out of curiosity, do y'all know
to stream it?
Yeah.
You can stream, I think, all 4 days for I want to say it's like less than $100, $100, something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it's not outrageous. And to be honest with you, it is going to be absolutely legendary. I'm obviously disappointed that I don't have tickets and I'm currently not going. I'm still actively trying,
and I will
try. Your
You never
point
know
will
what can
try.
happen. Yeah.
Obviously bummed, but again, Mills, just give us our due here. This is a time to raise a glass to Fish. And whether you're a fan of Fish or not, you should be a fan of artists giving access. And Fish is the first thing that's happened in the sphere that is live streaming. It was a hard and fast rule. U2 didn't fuck with it. The thing that they film regular, the story of the earth or whatever, doesn't mess. No footage. Fish said, nah, dude, we're going to hook everybody up. And if we got to take a pay cut to do it, we're doing it. They'll sell that place out. And it hasn't really been sold out yet. I've heard reports that U2 never sold out once. Fish will sell out all 4 nights. It'll be packed. It'll be insane. They might blow the roof off. It'll be the most incredible experience anyone has ever had. Sad I'm not going to be there yet. I'm still working on it. But I think it's so cool that they allow their fans to see it from around the world. And no matter what, if we don't get there, we can watch it on TV. So that's really cool. And it's only because they're them. Normal bands would just be like, yeah, sorry. But
so will you cop the whole thing then if you can't make it out there? Will you cop the whole package or will you just get a night or something?
All 4 nights. And I'll have a dance party in my house. I'll try to recreate it the best I can. But yeah, all 4 nights for sure, dude. This is going.
He's gonna have his own little personal meat stick party over there. It's gonna be a good time.
Time for the
it's
meat
time
stick.
to break out the meat
brain.
stick, dude. Yes, it will be incredible.
As far as this overall stuff coming out, Soup, I'm a little bit. Well, actually, I'm not surprised. I never really heard of this one, but the movie Pool Man, starring Chris Pine, it's his directorial debut. It's basically Lebowski as a pool man, kind of, is what it's been pitched at. And so I'm at least minorly interested in it. Probably not one I would go to a theater to see. I don't even know if it'll get a full release. Might be kind of a limited release, but I think that one might be up your radar. And I'm just curious, where y'all at on Unfrosted? This is Jerry Seinfeld directing basically a Pop-Tarts movie for Netflix.
You know what, dude? Actually, I am interested in that one. I totally skipped my radar there, but I have heard about it. I've even seen a trailer.
Jim Gaffigan, Amy Schumer, Christian Slater, Bill Burr. I mean, there's other people.
I'm really excited about it, Mills. The lineup's incredible. And I love Jerry's like raised his kids. He's like ready to get back into the world. I love it.
So this is going to be better than B-Movie. You're promising it's going to be better than B-Movie, at least.
Way better than B-Movie, because B-Movie was terrible.
I mean, it's kind of like Kevin Smith being like, well, it'll be better than Jersey Girl, although I will argue Jersey Girl was pilloried a little bit, maybe too much. I think those are the main two there that, y'all would enjoy and people should check out.
Before we see what the hell is going on in this crazy hotel, we need to connect us dudes to the dude with 6 Degrees of Lebowski. Mills, I hate to break it to you, buddy, but you're going to connect 4 rooms to the Big Lebowski in 6 degrees or less, starting with none other than Tim Roth.
Yeah, this is like super easy. It works exactly the same with Quentin Tarantino. In 4 rooms, Tim Roth is Ted the Bellhop. In Reservoir Dogs, Tim Roth is Mr. Orange. Steve Buscemi is Mr. Pink. And Steve Buscemi is obviously Donnie. At least make me work for it a little bit, man.
This one should be trickier. How about David Proval, who plays Siegfried in 4 rooms? How does he connect to the Big Lebowski? It doesn't matter. It matters that you're on time.
Yeah, well, I thought you were going to give me a thing about the parm sandwich or whatever. But in 4 rooms, David Proval plays Siegfried, and in The Monster Squad, David Proval plays a pilot, while Tom Noonan plays Frankenstein's monster. In Schenectady, New York, Tom Noonan plays Sammy Barthan, while Philip Seymour Hoffman plays Caden Cotard, and Philip Seymour Hoffman is Brant. In Jamie G, I know that's not the way you were expecting me to go with it, so just to be thorough, in 4 rooms, David Proval plays Siegfried. In the Sopranos episode, The Happy Wanderer, that's season 2, episode 6, David Proval plays Richie Aprile, while Federico Castelluccio plays Furito Gunta. In Maid, Federico Castelluccio plays a doorman, and Famke Janssen stars as Jessica. In Rounders, Famke Janssen plays Petra, while John Turturro plays Joey Kanish, and my friend's John Turturro is the Jesus.
Wow. Nels, I appreciate that. I really do. But I want to make you work for one more here before we move on. Just one. How about the actress who played the corpse? There's no way on earth that that's an easy one for you.
Well, Jamie G in Four Rooms, Patricia Vaughn played the corpse. In Desperado, Patricia Vaughn played a bar girl, and Steve Buscemi played Buscemi, and Steve Buscemi is Donnie.
Fine. How about one of the kids from that same segment?
This kid literally has one other credit appearance on IMDb, but here we go. In Four Rooms, Danny Brazuco played Wancho. In The Crow, City of Angels, Danny Brazuco played Boy in Church, and Iggy Pop played Curve. In The Color of Money, Iggy Pop appeared as Skinny Player on the Road, while John Turturro played Julian. And Jamie G, John Turturro is still the Jesus.
Wow.
Kid was only in two things.
I guess we should keep it moving here because we got 4 rooms to visit. Mills, give us the details.
I will give the details for each vignette, each section as we get to them, but as far as the overall whatnot, this is 4 rooms directed by various people, written by various people, produced by Lawrence Bender, cinematographer, depends on what you're watching, same thing for the editor, music by Combustible Edison, originally released December 25th, 1995. This was a Christmas joint. Had a budget of $4 million, made $4.2 million at the American box office, and it stars a lot of people. The short plot synopsis is, it's one hell of a first day on the job for Ted, a bellhop at a Los Angeles hotel long past its glory days. We follow him on New Year's Eve as he deals with these strange demands from the guests in 4 different rooms.
Well, this is going to be a full-on spoiler Shonsky. All right, we're going to spoil everything about 4 rooms, and let's just throw in the films of Quentin Tarantino while we're at it. This is your first and final warning. Let's start with our overall thoughts. Soup, this was your guy. You felt strongly enough about this one to pitch it not once, but twice. How did it hold up on the rewatch, and why did you want to talk about 4 rooms specifically?
All right, so yeah, I thought 4 rooms would be a really fun one for us to do because of the multiple directors, the 4 rooms plus the way it ties together and everything, and the feel of the movie. It's to me, I felt like it was a pretty fun movie. It's got a lot of layers to it. Thought there was a lot of good talking points there, man, and some really good memorable moments in the movie as well. So I did pitch this one not once but twice, but I figured throw it out there, man. Maybe somebody will grab it one time, and we did grab it, and here we are, man. So 4 rooms, dude.
Ooh. Disco.
This was a classic for me growing up. I loved 4 rooms. I think Tim Roth's performance here is unbelievable. His mannerisms and his body and just his whole way of moving and how he expresses himself is epic. Each room in its weird way is great, but it progressively gets better as the movie goes on. This is as good as you can get from a breakdown. I'm just really excited to do this, Soup. It held up for me. I've watched this probably, 100 times in my lifetime, but it's been years. And so it was really nice to go back through, and I forgot about room 2, for example, and that was really cool. A lot of great stuff in here, and really excited to break this one down.
I feel bad that I'm definitely lower than you all. It's not that I didn't enjoy it. I just think that some of the stuff I enjoyed more when I was younger didn't hold up as well. And maybe it's just that I'm not really an anthology dude, to be honest with you. Like almost all the anthologies, I'm like, oh, what other anthologies did I like? And what I came up with were all animated series because they were ways to kind of flesh out a universe I was already familiar with. Here, it's kind of like a couple feel like they were sketches that were taking too long. And then the other parts are like, boy, I wish I knew more about the universe that this was taking place in. But all we get is this short little bit here. So it wasn't bad or anything, but I think it's fine, kind of, is where I end up on it. There's nothing wrong with it, but I think I'm more in that, obviously kind of, as far as stuff we've done recently, more, closer to Robin Hood, Men in Tights than Spaceballs. Again, nothing wrong with it, and I think there's certainly interesting parts in every segment or whatever, but not quite maybe what I was hoping for. I was hoping this is one that maybe grew on me a little bit during rewatching. Instead, I kind of wound up right where I was like, oh, it's fine, like it's not bad, but I have not watched it like 100 times, like, oh, whatever. I probably watch it a dozen times, but definitely not as many in recent years, and not only because it's rarely available on a streaming service right now.
I think that's one thing I really liked about it as I was, in the earlier years, like when it came out or whatever. It was one of those movies that like nobody really knew about. And I was like, oh, this Four Rooms movie, man, it's got Tarantino.
I watch it because of Tarantino, obviously. Like someone's like, oh, like it's Creeper Tarantino. That's the first, I think I saw it, probably a year at least after the fact.
Yeah, but I do think for me it held up. Obviously I knew what was happening, and nothing surprised me or whatever. But on a longer rewatch after I'd seen it a bunch of times, and I haven't seen it in a while, but rewatching it now, it definitely held up, and it was exactly what I expected it to be, and it, it's a classic for me. I really do enjoy this movie. I think it's fun. I think there's a lot of good things in this movie that keep you interested, and like we said, it does kind of progressively get better as it goes on. So if you're willing to stick it out, then, I think it's worth it.
How about the intro itself? Because I actually kind of like that part of it, as weird as it is, because I've actually worked overnight shift at a hotel before, but never anything like this. And it's weird because they do refer to the 90s, and there is more modern stuff here, but then he still has the really old school, phone junction and everything like that. We have to actually plug in the thing, but then you get the animated bit in the song, and I actually kind of like that whole part of it. Any thoughts on that either? The kind of the intro here.
I thought the intro was incredible here. I like the opening scene with the old guy giving the advice to Tim Roth, and then that opening animated thing. I thought it was just fun and very cool in terms of just kind of the overall flow of how you thought the night.
Classic work advice: keep it in your pants.
Keep your cock in your pants. Yeah. And I like the anime. Obviously the opening scene with, hey, here's the introduction to what you're doing, or whatever. Good scene between the two of them. And then the animated, over the song and everything, kind of with the credits and everything. I liked it. I think it ran just a little bit too long. But other than that, it's very cool. It kind of gets you into it.
Then you get into the whole like witch and everything. Like right after the elevator, you almost could have cut it probably. Just run the credits a little bit faster, end it there, where he falls out the elevator, and then you just go to it. I think that's probably where but they were going for Pink Panther, and they definitely nailed it. Like that was the aesthetic of the animation or whatever. Yeah. So I was there for it.
Mills, give us the details on the first room, which I believe is the room for making love, the honeymoon suite.
They do have a nice tub in there. This is The Missing Ingredient, directed by Allison Anders, written by Allison Anders. Cinematographer was Rodrigo Garcia, edited by Margaret Goodspeed, starring Sammy Davis as Jezebel, Amanda Day Cadna as Diana, Valeria Golino as Athena, Madonna as Elspeth, Iona Sky as Eva, Lily Taylor as Raven, and Alicia Witt as Kiva. The short plot synopsis is: a coven of witches seeks to reverse a spell cast on their goddess, but they need help, so it's up to Ted to answer the call.
Anybody have anything in particular about this one that they enjoyed?
I will say, when I saw this in my youth, I enjoyed that there was a lot of very attractive women. I'm not going to lie.
But I actually really liked I thought the poem, if you will, I thought it was hilarious. If you actually listen to the words, especially on the missing ingredient lady.
There's a little dice, kind of dirty limerick feel to it. I give you that.
So funny. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, if you read that kind of avant-garde or something, I could see how that could be funny. I'll give you that. I mean, I got a couple chuckles out of it. Like the one chick's like, oh, I travel light. She just holds her broom up. I mean, some of that kind of the little jokes weren't bad. Just overall, it felt to me that this was a sketch that ran, 15 minutes. I should have ran 5 to 7. I think there was some fun stuff there. It just went a little bit long, and it was fine. Just, not a lot of ha-ha funny, got kind of a couple chuckles. I did I'm like, oh, that's the chick from Hot Shots, right? I always loved her. She wasn't in a lot of things, so that was kind of cool. So there were definitely a couple of funny bits here. It just, again, was probably at least 2 or 3 times as long as it needed to be for me for the amount of gags that they got in.
See, I'm gonna disagree just a smidge here. I didn't think it was that overly long. I thought it was entertaining and a good work into. There was a good bit of writing because the guy warned Teddy about keeping it in his pants or whatever, and I just thought there was a good bit of
See, I feel
kind of
that they
writing
just
there,
put that
wrapping
scene
that in.
to justify him not immediately just having sex with this woman because he would have.
It worked for me.
Maybe.
Or maybe I'm selling short, but
yeah. I mean, obviously I think it's a general consensus that the first room is probably the weakest of the four.
I would agree.
Why throw Madonna in there? I don't know. I think it's random, but it's still kind of cool because Madonna's in there. I mean, you don't see her in a lot of fucking movies, and Tarantino, of all people, could probably get her in a movie. Would this be the best role for her? I don't know, but she's there. Not that that's a highlight or anything. I think the highlight and the main thing about this particular room or scene or whatever in the movie here is the basic premise that the whole thing is revolved around this chick that sucked the dude off to obtain his cum and swallowed it instead of keeping it.
You stupid witch! You swallowed the sperm?
And that has to go and and try and find it and extract it from somebody else. And I just think the situation there is funny as fuck. Not to mention, just if I didn't before, I probably will again. But Tim Roth is absolutely outstanding.
It's Tim Roth.
Everything he does, every movement he makes, every word he says, just everything about him, facial, arm, everything that he does in this movie is just top notch, over the top. Just outstanding.
Dude, I think that's the best. Soup, to your point, I think that's the best thing about this. You really get to see Tim Roth and all of his awkwardness and all of his. He could do this in a movie with no sound, and it would be great. That's how awesome he is. And you can't say enough about it. I think it's a perfect introduction to his evening as it unfolds. And what's wild is, as crazy as the situation that's probably the least craziest of everything he encounters throughout the night. So I like how they kind of ramp it up, like room one, and it just gets more and more throughout 1 through 4. To me, I think that's probably where my heart leans on this one a little bit.
Yeah, it's a good way in. There's also some really cool things, especially when you consider when this is made. When they're telling the story of what's going on to the bellhop Tim Roth, and then they have the picture and little things like this, where then all of a sudden the picture starts moving, and then there's a little scene inside the picture, and then the picture stops, and then they stop explaining it, and I think his reply was, well,
I hate to tell you this, but I kind of doubt she was a virgin.
Little things like that.
That was so funny. He gets lost, and what a great bit of editing right there. She shows him this picture, and he gets lost because it turns into this movie. That was so funny, dude. It's little things like that in this scene that I think in the first room that I think go kind of, you don't really notice as much as you do maybe in rooms 2, 3, and 4.
I just want to point out, if I had worked in a hotel that had a pinball machine in the lobby, that would have been super clutch. Yeah, that's one of the first things we see when Madonna rolls up here. Ted's having a good first day at work, right? You're just in the lobby playing pinball. That's a pretty good one. And let me ask you think Tim Roth and Madonna got it on in real life? Because I sense a little BE here between the two.
I like to hope so. Yeah.
Just watching them, and then the whole bit where she puts she's going to give him the tip and she puts it in her bra or whatever. I don't know. I mean, I feel like Tim Roth and Tupac could not only be co-stars, they could be Eskimo brothers.
They could be. And Dennis Rodman. Don't forget about Dennis Rodman.
Warren Beatty, Sean Penn.
There's a bunch of guys. We could do a whole episode on guys who bang Madonna, but let's I think we hit room 1 pretty good. Let's get off to room 404. Mills, I need you to give us the details before we get there. This is a great one.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps we got the number wrong. I thought we were on the 5th floor, but whatever. This is The Wrong Man, directed by Alexandre Rockwell, written by Alexandre Rockwell. Cinematographer was Phil Harmon, edited by Elena Mangini, starring David Froebel as Siegfried, Jennifer Beals as Angela, Lawrence Bender as long hair yuppie scum, Paul Scott as real Theodore, and Quinn Thomas Hellerman as baby bellhop. The short plot synopsis is, after answering a call for ice from room 404, Ted finds himself in some sort of fantasy hostage situation with Richie Aprile in the chick from Flashdance.
So going into it, he gets the phone call, and as some dude wasted and talking about, we're in room whatever, trying to figure out what room they're in, and going on and on about it, and ultimately, Tim Roth's character is like, well, what is it you need? Because he never tells him what he wants, and then it's like ice. We need ice. So you just kind of picture this whole thing, party going on. They make the phone call for like what they need, but they don't know, and they're just like trying to figure out what room it is. I think that was pretty hilarious. So he finally shows up at the room, knows there's a party. Again, the way he fucking strolls up, mannerism, smoking the cigarette, the way he puts it out, and blows it and does this, snuffs it out nice, bucket or whatever, man, and comes in with the ice. But little does he know what's about to unfold.
Well, this was certainly quite a bit different than the first one. What do we like about The Wrong Man? I think there's a lot here to like. Richie Aprile, okay? Anybody who's watched The Sopranos recognizes this guy right away. He was scary. He meant business. In Sopranos, he does in this too. This is awesome. Some sort of twisted kind of like sex bondage game between couples that are completely unhealthy. I found this to be absolutely hilarious, but yet intriguing, but yeah, like, oh my God, this is scary. I thought this was a great scene in this movie. Like, awesome. Like, very, very cool. This stood up more than I thought it would.
Before we go any further, I just will point out that the casting director here ultimately looks like became a main casting director for Sex and the City, which ran the same time on HBO for a lot of its run as The Sopranos. So I think there is a really good chance that this role literally did get David Froebel, Richie Aprile. So I think there is you can literally draw that line, I think, between this role and Richie Aprile, which is super cool just on that level. I will say the first time I watched it, I do remember this. I thought it was going to be weirder than this. Like, maybe it's bad that I was kind of disappointed that it turned out to be just some kind of weird sex thing. I thought it was going to... Yes, kind of. Like, maybe it was going to tie back in later, other than, like, say, Angela just showing up in the fourth room. I like the whole bit with him trying to go off the window. I thought that part was pretty great. There's some small stuff here. I think, again, Froebel does fine. It just goes on maybe a little bit further than it needed to. It was funny. Again, I think Tim Roth is probably kind of like my least favorite part here. Like when he goes in the bathroom and he's just being all twitchy talking to her. I just don't know what they're going for, kind of. You know what I mean? Like, he's just nervous. It's a crazy day on the job. It just, I don't know. Like, it wasn't like necessarily just funny or like, I don't know. Like, I guess maybe that's a little bit of my problem overall is I'm not sure if you're supposed to like Ted or not. What do you think, Super? Like, is Ted supposed to be, are we really even supposed to like him? Maybe I'm like out of that because I worked in a hotel. So I want to sympathize with him, but sometimes it's hard to.
I mean, to me, he's a likable character. He is what ties everything together, and again, just the performance is phenomenal. But yeah, I mean, I think he's very interesting. And going into this room, I mean, the first one was pretty much pretty much spelled it out for you. Here's what's going on. There's a little bit of mystery there, but not like in this wrong, the wrong room or the wrong man or whatever it's called here. This one, you don't know what's good. Like, this is a complete, like, whoa, what's going on here, man? You don't know if it's, is this guy serious or is this a situation, So I like that. It grabs you right away with, okay, now I got to know what's happening, like, for real.
See, I liked it at first, but then I didn't like that it was just kind of like a weird sex thing. Like, and even it was, if you believe Angela at the end or whatever, she's like, oh yeah, he's passed out. Like, Siegfried's passed out. Like, he got off on it or whatever, even though you see the next dude come in. I did like that ending of it. Like, it's just the idea that, like, somehow, like, even if they're not necessarily calling people there, just they're waiting for people to answer the door to do this or whatever. It's kind of sick and twisted, and I don't mind it. It just feels like this would have been great at, like, 7 minutes, kind of.
I think, yeah, again, this one could have been a little bit shorter. I do think, like, again, you mentioned the scene where he's crawling out the window, but I like
That's
that
my favorite by
yeah,
far. The
they pull it
whole
far away, and then they put the little graphic in there with the arrow, things
yeah,
like
when
that.
you show him like where he is in the hotel and everything, that was cool. It gave you a
And then the
scale
dude
kind of for
crawling
how
up, yeah,
like where was he gonna go even? Like that's the funny part. Even if he could have gotten out there, what was he gonna do? Just plummet to his death?
yeah, and the hilarious thing here is that the guy upstairs that ends up throwing up, like, almost he dodges or whatever, is that
Right, that's the party they called for the ice
that
originally,
originally
right?
called him for ice. Yeah. So, and then I think that either that guy or another guy from that particular party is the one that comes down and is the replacement when he's
Right, the
leaving.
next guy. Yeah. I think they say yeah, because that's
So
they're
they got a
the
thing
four
going
four,
on
yeah, 504,
there.
and then 409. Yeah, that's all. It's all a little bit tied together. I mean, my main complaint here is just that it went on a little bit too long, and I wish maybe there would have been a better payoff. You know what I mean? It kind of just ends like he sneaks out or whatever. It doesn't really like. I guess that's the point. They're just having the fantasy. I don't know if like seeing them bang would have made it better, but then maybe it would have like
Maybe, but
it just it kind of like what was it building towards a little bit. You know what I mean? That's kind of my main complaint is like it just doesn't like it's like it's just the whole scene is edging kind of like, and I
yeah,
guess that's what it is for that couple, but just on screen it's just not super entertaining. Like everyone's great or whatever. I just can see that working really good, for 5 to 7 minutes, and here it just seems to go on for a bit, so they have to add in shit like the bathroom scene, which is funny, but
right,
and everyone's great. Like Jennifer Beals, like you can never figure out if she wants to be untied or not, for better or worse. And I
yeah,
guess
but
like that's what Roth's trying to play. Like, oh, do you want? But I get
just
that
go
that's
along with it.
weird. But so he just like twitches the whole time though, which I mean it's not bad. I guess it's not my favorite because I know Tim Roth is just he's so great. I know I'm not necessarily against it. Again, maybe picking a little bit of holes, but it just it's not like ha ha funny, but it's not like so they take away the tension. So it's not like you're worried he's going to get like killed either or anything. You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah,
It's
at a
kind of
certain
middle
point, they
thing.
do take away the tension, dude. And this is one thing we could point out here. Another one of my, another noteworthy scene from this particular part of the movie is him and Siegfried are having the conversation, or one of the conversations that they have, and it's not the one where they're totally bonding, where he's like,
I
talking
like
about,
when all of a sudden they do bond and they hug or
yeah,
whatever, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
like all of a sudden that is kind of cool, like a little
And
Stockholm syndrome,
leading
but it's
up to
cool.
that, they're talking or whatever, and all of a sudden, Ted ends up with the gun, and he just picks it up and is like, whoop whoop, and the dude, and just that moment is funny. Just the reaction to that is funny. Like, how do you get the gun, and why does he have it, and why does the dude just take it? Like, is that thing even loaded? Who knows? Probably not. That and I mean, of course, everybody's going to expect this coming from me, but I'm a huge fan of the last scene in that scene where what's her name? I forget her, Angela or whatever. Is just going
Jennifer Amelia Angela's
off on all the dick names, his Rod, his John, and it's just, and she goes on for a hot one, dude, and that was pretty impressive, man. So
well, it's like the full rated R version of the Austin Powers joke, right? Like where they do that whole like, oh, it looks there, it's a giant, Johnson or Rod or balls or whatever. The way
bang, bang, bang.
they right,
Shit,
they kind of
ton
do
of
that.
them in it.
It's just a different version of that same joke, which again, it's I'm sure been around for as long as people invented like oh, balls are funny, your dick is funny, your farts are funny or
And he
whatever.
just dips out in the middle of it. He's
She said names that I don't use regularly, which I really appreciate, and
Yeah,
it was
that's actually one.
perfectly
Watch
done.
the subtitles on that one. That for we're not even trying to just say like cock to say cock, but maybe the joke went a little bit too far, but it is that I mean definitely funny in and of itself. Again, I think the whole thing went low a little bit, but I don't necessarily hate it or anything. Jamie G, anything to add that we haven't kind of extrapolated on already?
And his whole thing with "Don't Call Me Theodore," we didn't talk about that. That's absolutely epic. But I think just that on edge that they create through this, I think is really hard to do with special. Mills and the universe, I think it's important to know that Antonio Banderas was in six movies that were released in 1995. That is a super busy dude. No wonder that he needed a babysitter in room 309, right, Mills? He had to have a babysitter. It's too busy.
I mean, they are expensive, which is why we don't have a babysitter for you. But sometimes you have to do what you have to do. This is The Misbehavers, directed by Robert Rodriguez, written by Robert Rodriguez. Cinematographer was Guillermo Navarro, edited by Robert Rodriguez himself, starring Antonio Banderas as husband, Tamlin Tomita as wife, Lana McKissick as Sarah, Danny Verduzco as Juancho, Patricia Vaughn as Corpse, and Salma Hayek as TV dancing hero. The short plot synopsis is Ted accepts a $500 tip to keep an eye on the children staying in room 309. Easy money, right? I'm sure the kids will just watch TV and fall asleep in a corpse-free bed. Nothing to it.
Well, somebody had the stinky feet, dude, and I don't know if anybody really misbehaved or not, but there was definitely some misbehaving going on.
Well, once again, this is quite a bit different than the previous segments. What did you dudes enjoy about the Misbehavers?
I mean, everything with kids smoking and drinking is just inherently funny, but this is the one that felt the best to me because it was almost like a live action Looney Tunes cartoon almost, right? Just like it kept taking it to another level with the kids, and like even them just finding a corpse, it was almost comedic, like painting the bullseye, and the hypodermic needle is so huge. Everything was just taken to the extremes, and I think this is where all of Tim Ross acting, or at least the way he was directed, the way he chose to do it, or whatever, all this frantic nature shit works the absolute best here because of that. This is the one that I think just keeps escalating and escalating and escalating. And then finally at the end, you know, Antonio Banderas is especially great. He's carrying his wife home. She wanted to get bombed. She has the bottle of booze clutched in her paw. She won't let it go. He carries her all the way up. He looks around at all this stuff. Great pan shot. Like, oh, did they misbehave? This anthology definitely did do the endings well. I think especially in the final two vignettes or whatever. But man, I think this is just my favorite because it just kept going. And by far, I think per capita, the most laughs I got out of any of the rooms. How about y'all?
Absolutely, dude. I mean, the Misbehavers is obvious, or is arguably, you know, maybe the best of the rooms, but you know that's up for grabs or whatever, you know, an opinion. But what I will say is that this one is really the one that kind of turned it around to like, you know, the second room got you going, you know, the first one gets you in, the second one gets you going a little bit, and this one really kind of takes it to another level. I mean, there's a lot of things in this one, you know, like you mentioned the kids smoking and whatever, which is hilarious because Tim Ross just constantly slapping it, you know, later in the scene, he's just slapping it out of his mouth and shit, you know. There's so much in here from the stinky feet to the porn on the TV, or the softcore porn on the TV, you know, and the needle. And this is I think the first time where a lot of where some of the rooms are tied together, where you know this isn't happening chronologically, like this is actually taking place out of, you know, not in order the way the movie is flowing. Like, you know, some of this stuff is happening. It's not just these four rooms, like he's doing this and that, and some of these are taking place simultaneously, I guess. You know, so it's the first time you figure that out, you know, with that phone call or whatever to the other room while he's in that room. So, you know, there's that. There's a couple things that stand out in that regard. But ultimately, I do think that the best scene in the movie overall is the scene at the end of this particular room when they come back and everything just kind of snowballs. You got the fire going. You got him hanging onto the foot of the dead hooker in the mattress. He's got the needle in his hand. The kid's smoking. You know, the other one's got the bottle with the bottle of booze or whatever. I mean, it's just, you know, and then obviously Banderas, like all you can say is, did they misbehave? As he carried his, you know, wasted wife in there completely unconscious and just decides to fucking straight up drop her.
Did they misbehave?
Classic, hilarious. I mean, like I said, probably the best scene in the whole movie right there, man.
Yeah. And let's not just forget about, we thought Tim Roth was incredible with like his mannerisms and weird movements and faces and smoking a cigarette. No. Nobody, and I mean nobody, there's not a human on earth cooler than Antonio Banderas smoking a cigarette and downplaying the role of his wife. It is unbelievable. You know, she asked, do you want to have fun tonight? All sexy. Takes a big hit, just exhales it all out. Just blows it in her face, dude. The dude is an absolute stud, bro. He is perfect.
But then he does this move too. He does like that.
My note was that the opening of this was, I got a harder laugh her Antonio Banderas combing his son's hair and being aggressive against his wife while smoking a cigarette than I had in anything to that point. Nothing against the other stuff, but this was the first, like, ha ha, like, laugh out loud. Just him doing that and the exchange they had, like doing their kid's hair in the bathroom. Just that little stuff, and that's like right middle of the road Robert Rodriguez, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, dude. I think another thing is like when they do uncover the mattress, and when Ted comes into the room, and they uncover it for a second time, and his reaction where he's just spitting out puke and shit is it's all like, it's like, whoa, every time that's hilarious and mind blowing,
Yeah, that's when you shut out real practical puke. Whatever the way they did that, probably a tube behind it, whatever. But now they do it digitally, and that just looks. The whole thing, they have a real lady playing the corpse, obviously, because she does show up in Desperado at the bar. That whole bit works because it escalates believably, kind of, for what it is. Like, it's basically a Looney Tunes cartoon. Like, if you left the kids alone, like, they'll be fine. Tom and Jerry will watch the kids or whatever, and this is what the kids do while, Tom and Jerry are doing the other stuff. It was a little creepy when he did the vapor rub on the eyes and everything. That was a little weird, I guess. I mean, is that really a thing? I didn't know of that, but I guess it makes sense.
I've never tried it. I thought about trying it after I'd seen this movie, but I didn't want to do it to myself. But again,
I wear contacts, so that's like a whole like no-go zone. Like, you really don't want anything like that anywhere near your eyes, at least in my experience.
No, you don't.
So that's kind of messed up.
Well, dude, anything we didn't like about the Misbehavers? I mean, I thought this was pretty much awesome, this run.
Yeah.
I would have liked more Antonio Banderas and his wife, maybe to get a scene or two of them at the party. I think that would be cool. But I have actually, like, this is, spoiler, we're gonna do rankings, but this is I think overall the best. Like, it moved. It felt this was a story that was optimal for this about 20-minute or so length. I didn't need to be any shorter. I didn't need to be any longer. I felt like it told this one story perfectly. So absolutely, really love that one. My only complaint is, again, like, I would also love just seeing a second, just as long story about how Antonio Banderas' wife got so bombed at the party.
Oh yeah, because she was completely unconscious, dude. But I will give props again to Tim Roth on his, when he finally gets off the phone and he realizes, okay, I got to go up there because it's the emergency or whatever. And then he sees them, he sees Antonio Banderas and them walk in. He's like, oh shit, so he's doing the whole maneuvers and everything.
That's almost like Ferris Bueller, right? Like, it's like Ferris Bueller mixed with the Terminator.
Yeah,
like, he's coming, but you gotta run away.
And jump through the elevator door to get in there right on time, I mean, it just worked out. And then, the whole lead up to when they open the door is just, I mean, it's top notch, dude.
Yeah, Banderas, that really, again, I think probably my favorite, but.
We'll get there.
Stuff.
It's not technically one of the vignettes, but this is where we get a scene of Ted calling his boss, played by Kathy Griffin. This is also where Marissa Tomei appears. Any thoughts on the scene? I thought it was much needed humor and was absolutely hilarious. I couldn't get enough of this. Really funny stuff here, right? I mean, to me, this was great, dude. The whole way it broke down with her, like, fresh off New Year's Eve party, just smoking her bowl and just like, listening, does anyone, she was just great, dude. I thought this was an awesome scene. And Ted's just like progressively getting more escalated here, which is, again, phenomenal work by Tim Roth.
Absolutely, dude. And Marissa Tomei is awesome anyway, but like her role in this one is she's carrying on, trying to keep this conversation building with this guy, that just kind of calls in or whatever. And, eventually he's going along with it or whatever, and eventually he's just like, you know what, I want to talk to Betty, and get this, so he ultimately just gets to, like, put Betty on the phone or whatever. But the conversation went on really long, but this is one of those moments where it didn't mind it going on too long because it was good enough to where it could, and it carried, I mean, they're asking about the witches, how was your night, everything. So it built and it built and it built, and ultimately it was like, I have an emergency here, I'm trying to talk to the boss, so bottom line came at the end. I thought this whole scene was, it was a really good scene, and it was perfectly placed to kind of tie everything together and lead up to the final room.
For what it's worth, I would love if our producer could just go ahead, do a Wayne's World thing. I'm pretty sure that's why we like this scene. But I love the idea she doesn't even know whose house it is. Like, does anybody know Betty or whatever? And Betty's like, yeah, right here. It's my house. Like, what the hell? You know, and Kathy Griffin's not necessarily like super my favorite, but I think she is great here in this role. And she, you know, she get that everyone's depending on you. You get the idea he's the only one working. Like, I definitely worked at least a hotel with more than 50 rooms by myself at night. That meant any problem, unless you're going to call an emergency person and you had to deal with it. Clogged toilet, you deal with it. Luggage, you deal with it. Like, whatever the problem was, you had to deal with it. I think this is a, you know, again, a cool interstitial, but it gives you the idea, like, man, like, I would much rather be hanging out at Betty's house than working where Ted is, especially on New Year's Eve.
You know, another thing you get from this conversation once Betty gets on the phone is a little bit of the history of this hotel. Because I like the vibe of this hotel. You can tell it's like a seedy, kind of like older, got history, you know, maybe some high profile people have stayed here or whatever. You know, it's got the potential, but it might not be a little bit less caliber than it should be, given whatever factors, you know. But
I think it's a model on the Roosevelt, I think, like the big old LA hotel. It is, I think, you know, at least draws inspiration from like a big old Los Angeles hotel, this kind of thing. You know, if you look at the rooms, it's like that, right? They're very luxurious 20 years ago.
Right.
In the technology, they call it out as the 90s, but still, like, they're using the old, you know, phone whatnot where you have to plug in
that
the
too, though. You know, I mean, that's cool. But again,
people
this
pay extra for that
kind
now.
of explains some of that in that brief conversation between the two of them. You know, at least it lets it be known, puts it out there, and to me, I think that's an important element here. You know, as far as describing the scene and the situation that they're in. Yeah,
I can't agree more.
I guess at that point, would you have quit if you were Ted? Like, were you quitting at that point? Like, if you already made it through the first two rooms, is the third one really going to make you quit? Because at least he got $500.
He got $500, or did he? You know, I mean, we never know how that.
Well, yeah, well, the 300, the 500, yeah, that was a whole.
But again, like, we never know that. Like, there was no exit, there was no conversation between other than did they misbehave. We don't know what they said. Obviously, there had to have been some conversation between the two of them, like, what the fuck happened here? You know, room's on fire. You know, kids are smoking and drinking. There's a dead whore in the mattress. So we didn't get any kind of closure there between what they might have said to each other, or if they worked their deal out or not. We'll just assume that he got the $500 and walked freely. You know, I guess that's the general consensus on what happened with that room, and that's fine. And if that's the case, still, maybe not quit, but definitely frustrated and pissed off on a crazy fuck of a night, dude.
Fair, I'm just doing the math. Like, that should be, like, back in the day, that was probably like, you maybe good night before, like, a good tip, $100 back then, because minimum wage is like $5.
He makes some money, bro.
Like, that's a huge $500 is like on your first night.
You made close
like over the night. I'm not even getting into the next one yet, but I think he would have made enough that, like, no matter how bad it sucked, man, I would have kept doing it for that money. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
a $500 cash tip is it's
huge now. Back then, at this kind of like level of a hotel, that's, like, again, that should be probably at least 2 weeks of like full-time salary almost, and what you were making probably before tips.
Assuming the hourly wage isn't that great for a job like that. You know, I mean, it's probably okay, but I wouldn't think it's super high. You know,
it's everything plus the tip. You need the tip.
Gotta have the tip.
And it all starts at the tip. And guys, it is quite a hotel. We've absolutely laid that out. But not only do they have a honeymoon suite, they also have a penthouse. Mills, what's going on up there?
Jamie G, in the penthouse, we have The Man from Hollywood. This segment is directed by Quentin Tarantino, written by Quentin Tarantino. Cinematographer was Andres Sekula, edited by Sally Menke, starring Quentin Tarantino as Chester Rush, Jennifer Beals as Angela, Paul Calderone as Norman, Bruce Willis as Leo, he was uncredited in the role, and Kimberly Blair as Hooker, she was also uncredited in the role. The short plot synopsis is, it's been a rough first night for Ted, so you can't blame him for wanting to quit. But when a famous Hollywood director calls and asks you to bring him a block of wood, 3 nails, a bowl of twine, a bucket of ice, a donut, a club sandwich, and a hatchet, you just can't say no.
And Mills, not just a hatchet.
A hatchet as sharp as the devil himself is what I asked for.
Well, sir, Chester, You be the judge.
No. I'll be the judge.
Careful, sir.
What do you think?
It's a sharp motherfucker.
We've arrived at the legendary Quentin Tarantino section of the film. What do we like about it? I'll just say I thought Quentin Tarantino was absolutely fantastic. All the actors in this scene portrayed very under the influence of alcohol and drugs. I thought Bruce Willis with hair. And he nails it. But Quentin Tarantino is just fantastic here, dude. I mean, wow. He was made for this character of Chester Rush.
Yeah, well, dude, you real quick, shout out Bruce Willis for doing this movie for free. He just did it
with hair.
He just did it to hang out with Quentin and have fun with it. He was uncredited in that movie because I guess it's illegal or there's some stipulation where you can't be in a movie.
Yes, it would be it's a union thing or whatever. But do you think that Quentin Tarantino paid it off by making that be actual Cristal that we're drinking?
Yes. I wouldn't put it past him, yeah, because everything else is piss.
The way when he chugs that one bottle where he opens it, and I'm almost positive that means it had to almost be real Cristal. So my guess is that was
you're drinking Cristal. Yeah, I mean that's what they say.
That's what they say. I've never I shouldn't say I've never had Cristal.
You only say drinking champagne if you're drinking champagne. If you're drinking Cristal, you say I'm drinking Cristal.
Yeah, everything else was piss, dude. I need to get I've never tried Cristal. I need to get some, and I'll try it, and I'll tell you guys what it's all about.
And that's another thing, though. Shout out Ted. If you're a bellhop, late night desk dude, this is about as cool as it gets. You're looking into usually you leave this outside of the door. You don't get to walk in. Like this is just so cool from a retail worker standpoint. You never get to get this close, which is why he allows himself to get sucked in, I think. As much as you'd want to quit, oh, come here, have a drink. And you saying no, I mean, it's basically like Quentin Tarantino playing himself. If you walk into that room, no matter how bad you want to quit that job 5 seconds ago, you're having that drink, right? You're even if you don't like champagne. Bro. I don't drink champagne. I'm taking that Cristal. You know what I'm saying? Fucking great, right? You can't even just say it's good, right? You have to say
Tarantino. Like, let's just. If he wants you to have a drink, you're having a drink with the guy. I don't know anybody who isn't.
Dude, I don't care what happened or what position. I don't care if it's like if Tarantino came into my restaurant and was like, you need to come to the table and have a drink with me. I don't care how busy it is or what's going on. I'm going and having a drink with Tarantino. And nothing else is going to matter at that moment other than me and Tarantino having a drink together. And that's it.
I'd be happy to ask him, how was the weather today?
I don't know what we would talk about, but it doesn't matter, you know. I mean,
it doesn't matter.
It's one of those. The conversation could be about anything. That's the whole point. That's the kind of the way we go with it. And what I should point out is once you got to turn around from Ted's perspective, this is a long one shot for minutes that goes on and follows all the way around, up and down multiple times. You know, meet Bruce Willis, and then till finally, then you see Angela laying down, and then they cut away to the guys behind the bar. That's the first time you get a cut. And it's interesting, right? Because this doesn't look like a penthouse or whatever. It reminded me a little bit of the Red Room from Twin Peaks. Maybe it's because of the red curtains, but they kind of have a little bit of bar the same way there. So I'm not sure exactly what Tarantino was going for, but it's a really weird vibe, like a post-disc. It's rather like a disco in hell or something. I don't know.
A cool layout for a room, though. I mean, I think that's the main area, and then there's obviously rooms off to the sides or whatever. But
yeah, it's like a whole sunken thing with the bar, and then you go up to the rooms or whatever.
But I like this a lot, and I like the whole entrance into it, and just the vibe you get right away as it progresses. You get the introductions and whatnot, but then once Quentin starts talking, if you have ever listened to Quentin Tarantino talk, it's on and on and on and on and on. This motherfucker can talk, dude, and it's very interesting when he does. So this just goes and goes, and the story progresses to what it is, and we'll get into that. But yeah, as far as an introduction to this final scene or whatever, it's it grabs you right by the short one span, So
kind of anything else until we sit down and talk about the bet? Anything else from kind of the introduction of the surprise that Angela's there? They just met her at the pool. See, I would have loved a little interstitial where one of these guys met her at the pool. Like after, like you said, things taking place in different, like simultaneously kind of and overlapping. like she's like, oh, Siegfried, he's passed out or whatever. So obviously that happened. She went down to the pool. These guys met her. That's all happened as other stuff was going on. I think it might have been cool just to get a tiny peek at that.
I think so too. I think it leaves it open just for like, for one, I don't know how necessary. Obviously, it wasn't necessary. It might have been a cool element to add. I think it just would have added a lot of extra to where you could have built a whole nother,
Let's be honest. There's at least a 50% chance she's actually just a hooker that was paid to do all of this. Like first she was paid to go out there for Siegfried, and then she was paid to come up to the the man from Hollywood.
That's probably the more likely of scenarios, to be honest.
The more I think it's closer to 75%, maybe.
More I think about it, I think that's the favorite to land.
But it wouldn't be cool if there was just that little bit of interstitial tissue that kind of tied them together or whatever.
Yeah, agreed.
I know it's an anthology, but that would have just made it so much more satisfying for me.
Like that phone call situation with the
like just a little bits. Like you just tie it all together. Like even at the end, what if like after the dude gets his finger chopped off, that the goddess shows up and bangs him, and then he grows his pinky back or something, kind of like the goddess they saved in the first one or something. Like even if it's over the credits or something, just some way to kind of tie it together. I don't know. Like
I don't know. That might be a little extreme with the growing the pinky back.
Yeah, I'm just, you know what I mean. I'm just trying to figure out a way to. Well, they had it. He didn't have to grow it back. She just like maybe makes it go together again or something.
Yeah, the ice and everything. Anyway, yeah, I do think a little bit of more stitching the intertwined shit together might have been kind of cool, but it depends on how they did it. Apparently, this is what it was, or obviously this is what it was, and they did it for this reason. And it keeps a lot open in the mind. So there's a lot to this movie where it makes you think. That's why it's like that. I think it's by design to be like, well, the viewers can kind of like be creators and figure out what it is on their own.
If Bruce Willis low-key gets a line that I'm going to use again throughout my life, when he says,
Ellen, what does punctuality have to do with love? Can you explain that to me, please?
You just got to hear that in the background, but man, I can tell you a lot of times that love seem to deal a lot with punctuality.
He's on the phone with the, right.
Which back then, shout out Bruce Willis, like, his character, like, he got drunk, so he doesn't want to drive. That's what sets all this up. Like, he doesn't want to drive. Like, he got hammered. It was New Year's Eve.
Another really cool side story there, though, man. That you only get from.
See, that's what I mean. My main problem with this segment is I wish this was a movie, almost.
Probably could have.
It's just too short for me, especially kind of when we get to the whole event of it all. Anything else before we get to the, the main setting up of the whole wager here?
Nah, to break it down, we got the random situation. You got the random hooker / wife or whatever it is from the previous room. You got the layout of everybody's partying, everybody's fucked up. It's New Year's Eve, and it's past midnight now, so everybody is on that level. Let's break it down. You're also in a famous director's room, which is Tarantino kind of playing what you would think would be himself, but Chester Rush is the character. And they are discussing a movie either they made or are making or whatever, and then he's got his entourage with him. So let's go from there and discuss what happens now.
One of my favorite parts is you think that Tarantino is going to explain it, right? And then he just gives it up to Bruce Willis's character, who lays it out perfectly.
And why?
But that leads the way. Bruce Willis lays it out perfectly. I love that. Then he disappears to go grab a joint, and he's like hidden in the background. But then you get Tarantino's money scene where he's laying out I've got £2, and he's like, he's ready. He takes a deep breath, and then he goes, and it's timed, and it's perfect. And he's got the 2 piles of money, one that you'll earn and one that you could earn. This is the greatest selling sales pitch I've ever seen in a life of sales. Like, I'm literally Death of a Salesman. I think that's incredible. Lays out this pile and keeps adding to the pile. It's fantastic, Mills, and he literally keeps adding to that pile. I thought that was a great, great, great scene. And how amazing is it?
Well, it sets up the ending perfectly, because then that's why he's so happy to just drop the hammer, and
it doesn't even light once. I love it that it's on the first attempt. And they set it up perfectly because Norman keeps lighting the cigarette of the actress that we see in room 2. And I love that he keeps lighting her cigarette and keeps flicking with it and playing with it. It's so perfect here. Really good writing.
Absolutely. Now let's take it back. I think we jumped ahead just a little bit.
That's fine. We're jumping all over the place, so you're good. Just rewind it back.
Matter of fact, that's a quote in here. Let's not. What did he say? Let's not jump ahead. I'm not a rabbit. You're not a whatever.
Yep. You're not a frog. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, one thing at a time, man. I'm not a frog and you're not a bunny, so let's not jump ahead.
Very good, sir.
Before, when you mentioned the scene where he's laying the money out, doing the whole spiel about you can have this, or this is what, whatever the fuck, he has to coax him back there. But that's what, let's not forget what the actual situation is. What does he want him there for? Do you remember? What do you like? I mean, obviously we remember, but let's fucking tell the people what he wants him there for. Why is Ted called to this room, and what is his part in this?
Well, obviously to deliver the donut, the club sandwich, because people are hungry.
That, but I love the fact that it's like, look, dude, if Norman wins this bet, he feels no emotional guilt or problems about accepting that car. He's going to be happier than a pig in shit and drive off in that red car, one of the top sports cars in the country. However, if Chester Rush's character wins, he is going to feel turmoil and guilt about chopping off the pinky. So that, I love that, but he wants to win. If he wins, he wins. And I don't blame him. He's not wrong in that case. But he doesn't want to deliver the blow, Soup. And I think that's what's so cool about this.
Exactly. So you bring in a stranger who's impartial to do it. And the way they explain it to him, or the way he explains it to him, is awesome. And obviously, Ted's first reaction is,
I've got to get out of here.
Money!
I am not gonna cut off Norman's little pinky.
Well, they even tell him they have a surgeon on call. Like it's gonna get sewed back on. It's gonna be fine. Like you just have
and then all he has to do is wave that money, and he stops right in his tracks. And he's like, "All right, I'll entertain this." Then once that pile starts growing, he's in. Dude either loses the pinky, gets it chopped off with a cleaver as sharp as the devil himself, or he gets this ridiculously badass car. It's a 60-something Chevelle, whatever.
Yeah, the car, which is actually, they have a magazine to show just how cool the fucking car is. It's on the cover of a magazine.
Very
but
cool.
It's also cool that it is like a real Hitchcock thing. Like this is actually a reference to a real episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, I believe, with Peter Lorre and Steve McQueen.
Yes, with a Tarantino quip. And that's why this scene in the movie is awesome, because nobody else could pull this off other than Quentin Tarantino.
Dude, totally agree.
I don't think.
I just like it more when, as soon as they sit down at the bar and start talking about the bet, I'm in. Everything before that feels a little contrived. That whole oneer, it's just kind of long, and it just feels like Tarantino was more concerned maybe with handling his acting portion than the directing portion or whatever. Because it's not super interesting. It's fine, don't get me wrong, but man, once they sit at that bar, it feels like you're locked into like a real top tier Tarantino movie, and I just want
really
more of that. So I'm not like knocking the whole scene, but the whole the vignette or the segment or whatever you want to call it. But unfortunately, once they sit down, like that's when the sparks start flying, and you have that dialogue, and it's just, that's the Tarantino magic, right?
It is, absolutely.
And then the way it ends, but with just the chop, and he walks off with the money, that's perfect. That's Tarantino. It just feels like, half the segment's an A+, and the other half's like a B. So that's why I'm a little bit, kind of lower. It's not that it's bad, but at the end you see how, like, this is like peak Tarantino, like you're getting there kind of.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it started bad and ended well. I think
I'm not saying bad, just not like, you're not like you're in the Pulp Fiction territory.
It had something to kind of build it to that, and I think it built it to that. And then you're right. Once it was that conversation, then boom, you're in, and there's no turning back. You're paying attention no matter what at this point, And that was awesome. And then the way it ends, obviously he takes the bet, takes the money, does it. And it's just it just is played out so well, as you guys have said, where it's just like, all right, let's do it. And it's boom, 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 done, out, I mean, and then even the shit that happens in the background as the credits are rolling, with the people you can hear, the conversation you can hear in the background and stuff is still hilarious and still hanging on and clinging on to the situation.
Right, referencing we have a surgeon on call. Like, we have a doctor on call already. They've set this up. They've done the best for their friend.
But they did they went in so much detail to explain and make it to where, to convince him to do it, like so much detailed conversation. They're like, it'll be okay because of this, and this is why it's just, but it's not boring conversation. It's very interesting conversation, all of it. So it keeps you there, I think, from beginning to end, no matter what.
Right, I think that's the contrast from, say, the first joint, where it's just the conversation isn't as interesting. Like here, but that's, again, Quentin Tarantino's writing one of them, so it's not necessarily a fair apples to apples comparison. Jamie G, how about yourself, man? Any other things we haven't touched on yet as far as this final Johnsky?
I think it's incredible. Again, my second favorite scene only because I got a few more laughs out of Misbehaviors, but this is so good. There's so much star power in this. I love how they pull him back in. It's everything you want out of Tarantino. Once they sit down at the bar, it's like, oh, yo, it's go time. I don't have anything substantial to add other than I thought this was the perfect way to end this movie. I just, it's literally everything Ted was warned about all in one. And I just, this is just so cool that this is the fourth room. It's like you get paid off for making it through. And the way he walks off with that little stutter step swinging at the hips, he did no, dude. He's in all his glory.
Rides it out. I say he rides it out, man. You know, I mean, he went through New Year's Eve, had a fucking crazy night, and
that's a hell of a first day on the job. That's the first day,
right? You know, I mean,
he handled it pretty well. You know, sure, we're dudes who watch stuff, but we do like other things too, like ranking stuff. Pretty simple. We've got 4 segments, 4 rooms, and we've each ranked them from 1 to 4. Mills, break down the results for us.
It's not super complicated. We have a very clear, well, at least I should say bottom tier here. At 4, we have the missing ingredient, the first segment. We all had it for yay, it exists. Anybody else want to say anything on the missing ingredient before we move up?
No, I just think it was well placed as being the first one rather than the third or fourth or even second. It's a good way in. It might not grab everybody right away. Some people would be like, maybe this isn't the movie for me. And others that know, what the, at least who's involved in the movie will ride it out or whatever. But it's definitely the weakest of the 4. It's got its moments, but it's really no depiction of what the movie as a whole really is. You know, it's just a small part of it. And I think it's important in a way because it does, it gets you right into it right away with a weird thing. But it's, like I said, it's the weakest of the 4. So there it is,
So you can at least check that out. Maybe it sucks you in to the next joint, which is The Wrong Man. We all had it at 3. Anybody else with anything to say on The Wrong Man? We haven't said already.
Again, I'll just say that I think this is one that kind of switched the tone a little bit and kind of set it for the rest of it, letting you know that the first room was definitely kind of really out there, and but the second one, it puts you into a situation where what's going on here, man? The shit's getting real, and then and then it evolves into what it is, but it grabs your attention a little bit more and wants you and makes you want to keep watching, further. So I think it was well placed, but again, it's still my number 3, although there are some really good moments in it and some really good acting in it, and nothing wrong with it, but it's still number 3.
And this is one giant celebration of Tim Roth in many ways, and just in terms of how he handles all these scenes in his own way of mannerisms of Ted the Bellhop. And this is exquisite. I thought this was the first time in Out the Movie where you're kind of on the edge of your seat, like what's really going to happen. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway for me.
Yeah, it's definitely the most confusing of the 4 rooms. You don't really know what's, it's got your mind spinning. So good way to keep you involved, as a viewer.
That's kind of our clear bottom tier. Then we have a somewhat clear top 2, but not necessarily in a certain order. At 2, we have The Man from Hollywood. Jamie G, you put it at 2. I put it at 2. I think I've kind of already talked about why I would have it at 2. Why do you like The Misbehavers better than The Man from Hollywood, I should say?
I got more laughs out of The Misbehavers. I just think the peak of The Misbehavers, the build up to the peak is just funnier. And I think it was just so shocking and alarming, and just all the extremes of the kids finding that and the needle in his leg and him grabbing the prostitute's leg and all. It just, like, it culminates into I said it right this time, into a massive, hilarious moment. Don't get me wrong. The peak of room 4 is phenomenal, but it was more so entertaining than it was funny. Whereas I think room 3 is the funniest.
Super tough question. Better ending, room 3 or room 4? I mean, room 3, you have the whole pay into the craziness. Room 4, you have the cut the finger off, take the money, and run. Pick one. You can't do one or the other. Soup, better ending, 3 or 4?
I'm gonna go with 4 because it has a better ending. Room 3, the Misbehavers, is what I think probably the best scene in the entire movie as a whole. And this is why I put Room 4 at number 1 instead of Misbehavers at number 1, because I think it rounded it out better with ending a movie as a whole. The way the penthouse scene in the Man from Hollywood in Room 4 or whatever, the penthouse room, wrapped it up. So as far as a better ending, I'm going to go with 4. But it's a tough call. If you're ending a movie or if you're ending a particular.
I'll give you for a character arc, right? Like if we're following Ted or whatever, it's more logical ending for him at the end of 4 because he takes the money and kind of like, you feel like maybe like it's like a superhero first movie on the job kind of thing. Like he chopped, like, all right, this is how the job works now. I get it. I like the job. I understand the rules.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, like the ending of the Misbehavers is great. I mean, but I don't think it's a good way to end the movie as a whole. To end that segment, yeah. But the best ending, as far as the movie goes, is the last one in the 4th room with Tarantino and them, and that's why I didn't take Misbehavers at number 1 like you guys did. I took, The Man from Hollywood.
I think that's a very fair point. And again, I think that's the whole gist of it, right? There's 2 tiers. You gotta have the final 2 segments, the first 2 segments, and not to disparage or belittle the first 2. We just all enjoyed the second 2 segments quite a bit more.
Yeah, and I think it was put together that way for a reason too. I mean, I think general consensus again is each room kind of gets better, and then arguably the last 2 are, have their back and forth with certain certain parts of them or whatever. But it builds like that, and I think it's by design.
I think so too, and I'd agree with Soup. I think the probably best ending of the scene is 4, but probably funniest scene is 3, if that makes sense. And so I agree with that.
Hey, at least we got an ending.
It's time for
Wheel
of Sponges. If you've ever seen an episode of Wheel of Fortune or played a game of Hangman, you should know how this works. On this episode, Magnum Mills will be playing the roles of both Pat Sajak and the beautiful, exquisite Vanna White.
Shout out North Myrtle Beach's own. So, Jamie G, you will go first, and the category is movie character. The category is movie character. Let me show you what you are working with here. All right, Jamie G, you are going to spin the wheel first here. Here he goes. All right, quarter sponge. You got to give me a consonant. What consonant here?
I am going to go with C.
There is no C, so it will be up to the Soup to spin next. Soup spins the wheel. Also, for a quarter sponge, Soup, give me a consonant that's not a C.
You know what, man? I'm gonna go ahead and just whip out the D. Let's go with D.
The D
just pulls it right out.
Oh, and there is also no D.
Oh, it's lacking of D. There's no D, buddy. You gotta
D.
That's what you get for whipping it out so fast.
Yeah.
Jamie G, we're spinning it here. No one has anything yet. Ooh, a half sponge here. This could be a big one. Jamie G, give me a consonant here.
I'm gonna go with S.
One S. So you now have a half of a sponge.
Yes.
And you get to spin the wheel again. It costs a quarter of a sponge to buy volley. You want to buy a volley? You want to keep spinning here with your half a sponge?
I'm going to keep spinning with the half sponge here.
1/2 sponge. He spins it again. Oh, it gets onto a quarter sponge. He barely gets there. Jamie G, give me another consonant.
I'm going to go with F.
There is one F. One F. So that's a quarter sponge. So you now have 3/4 of a sponge, and you're
Magna
going to
Mills,
get to
I'd
spin
like
the
to
wheel.
solve. Just kidding. I don't know how to solve yet. I'm just kidding. I just want to say
you can't keep pulling that up though. So you gotta, you can't you can't unring that bell, so to speak. All right, you got 3/4 of a sponge. We're spinning it.
Whew. All right, another quarter. Give me a full sponge here.
Of a sponge.
I'm gonna go with T.
We have a T. He is up to 1 full sponge right now.
Mills, I'd like to buy a vowel.
Jamie G is going to buy a vowel, right? That'll cost him 1/4 of a sponge. What vowel would you like to buy?
E.
He's going to buy an E. Right, minus 1/4 sponge there for the E. We have an E. All right, Ed. I guess you get to spin the wheel again, unless you'd like to take a shot to solve.
I'm gonna spin the wheel again.
All right, got 3/4 of a sponge right now. Ooh, a half sponge here. This could be a big one. Jamie G, give me another consonant.
Let's go with M.
Oh, there is no M. So right now he is stuck on the 3/4 of a sponge. Soup Deucer, you're spinning the wheel. All right, the soup gets a 1/4 sponge here. Soup, give me a consonant, buddy.
All right. You know what, man? We're gonna go with N. N.
The man takes an N. There are 2 N's, so he is awarded a half of a sponge for that one. Soup, but again, you can either solve or keep going. You have a half a sponge now. What are you gonna do?
All right, I'm gonna spin again, man. I don't know.
All right, the soup is going to spin again. He's not quite there yet. Oh, he loses his turn.
Let's go. Soup, I love you, but
back to Jamie G here. He's got 3/4 of a sponge.
Let's spin it.
He's spinning
big
it.
Money, big money, big money.
He goes bankrupt.
Oh,
he is back down to 0 sponges. We're going back over to the soup with his 1/4 sponge. And I assume you're going to spin it, Soup?
Yeah, I'm spinning.
Damn it.
He's spinning it. A half a sponge. All right, Soup, you're going to need to give me a consonant that's on the board, half a sponge.
Let's go with B.
Oh, good for compounds, but not good for this. There is no B, dude. The B got snagged by somebody else, apparently.
He snagged B, bro.
Jamie G, you're back down at 0, so you have no choice but to spin unless you're going to solve it.
Let's spin. So mad at that, Mills. All right, at least
he's going to be here trying to build himself up again. Jamie G for a 1/4 sponge. Give me a consonant.
Give me a W.
He goes for a W. There are 2 W's. You now have a half a sponge. Would you like to solve, buy a vowel, or spin again?
I would like to solve.
All right, for a half a sponge, Jamie G, solve the puzzle.
What is Winston Wolf?
I guess that counts. I mean, it's a what and a who kind of. So, congratulations, Jamie G. You received a half a sponge on this edition of Wheel of Sponges. Not bad, dude. Be proud of yourself. Like, you are hungry like the wolf.
I'm hungry like the wolf. I'd like to give a shout out to my competitor. Soup was fantastic in this one. Provided staunch competition. Wish him nothing but the best in the future. But you know what? You need me there in 20 minutes? I'll be there in 9 because it's the wolf, baby. Calm down. I'm calling the wolf. Mills, ton of fun on this. Thank you. And to our producers, all the viewers out there in the universe, just got a lot of fun. Cheers. Wheel of Sponges.
Yeah, live from North Myrtle Beach. Vanna White, she's still sticking around. Pat Sage asked to retire, but Vanna is there till the end. Ride or die, Vanna White.
Vanna, will you marry me? All right, that was Wheel of Sponges. We hope you enjoyed it. Remember to try the home version of our game. It's fun for the whole family. Don't miss out on that. Makes for a great Saturday night. We'll see you next time, and until then, stay right here for more Regular Dudes Watch Stuff.
So you think you're sponge-worthy?
Yes, I think I'm sponge-worthy. I think I'm very sponge-worthy.
You know you're nuts with these sponges.
Run down your case for me again.
She said I wasn't sponge-worthy. Wouldn't waste a sponge on me.
In honor of Elaine Bennis, creator of the second greatest system of all time, we always determine if our featured review is sponge-worthy. Mills, update us on the sponge supply and tell us if you think Four Rooms is sponge-worthy.
All right. Jamie G, after playing the Wheel of Sponges here, I have 3 sponges. You have 3.5 sponges, and the soup juicer has 1.5 sponges. I feel bad, but I don't think I'm giving this one a sponge, man. It's decent enough, but 2 out of 4 isn't enough for a sponge, I feel. I need a little bit higher hit rate here, so I am going to go with a not worthy. Jamie G, how about yourself?
I got to give it a sponge. I think it's worthy of a sponge. It's really enjoyable. To me, it held up better than I thought it would. I wasn't really that ecstatic, through the moon about doing this. But watching this, I was like, I'm glad we did this. This was a fun watch. So for that, I'm going to give it a sponge. And I think it's really cool the way it was done. A lot of talent involved in this one.
Soup, how about yourself?
You know, I did not win any sponges on the Wheel of Sponges today, and I'm probably pretty low on sponges. So it doesn't matter, because if I got a sponge to spare, a square to spare, a sponge to square, whatever, this one gets a sponge for me, man. Not only did I pitch this one, twice, I also, this is a movie for me that I've seen a lot. It goes back to my younger years. It's kind of got that vibe for me where it's, it's part of the, the arsenal, the movie arsenal from back in the day. And I do appreciate this movie, and I'd like to actually see more movies like this with not necessarily chapters, but just the way it's put together, the different shit that all interlocks into one at the end. I like that vibe. I like that style. This has always been a good movie, or one of my top movies, and I'm giving it a sponge. So.
Did you own this on VHS?
Yes.
Yes.
DVD, yes. DVD, yes.
DVD and VHS, or just one or the other?
Just DVD for me.
I owned it on DVD, but I had a copy on VHS that I had to write on the thing.
That means you're a real fan. If you had actually
dubbed copy on VHS and on DVD later in the years, and now I own it on Prime or whatever the fuck. So,
well, you are a true fan, and again, to start out, I had 3.5 sponges. Jamie G had 3 sponges. Soup had 1.5, so now I still have 3.5 sponges. Jamie G has 2 sponges, and the soup juicer has 0.5 sponges.
We're going to finish up our discussion of Four Rooms by handing out some grades. We're grading this one on a scale of 0 to 100 space bucks, because I think that's just what we're doing from here on out. Space bucks seems like a great currency. Soup, this is your baby. Give us some space bucks for Four Rooms.
Space bucks. I will, not the greatest movie ever made, but I like the potential. I like the idea of this movie, and I like the vibe of this movie, and I like a lot of the content of this movie. So it's got to be ranked very highly. I will go ahead and spend a lot of space bucks on this one, and out of 100, I'm going to go ahead and give it a solid 95.
Jamie G.
I'm giving this a solid 88 space bucks, but is this in fact sponge-worthy?
You know what? I kind of like your alliteration on the 88. I'm going to give it 77 space bucks. Y'all talked me into it a little bit more. I was probably at a full Bill and Ted 69 before we talked about it. I do like it more than I thought. I don't know that I'll be jumping to revisit it, but if it was on, I'm not turning it off or whatever. 77 space bucks.
I think a movie like this, the more you watch it, the more you like it. Maybe sometimes in some cases,
Yeah, but it won't. It definitely will not translate as well on TBS or whatever. So, not gonna lie, it helps if you get the boobies in the first scene.
Yeah, don't even bother if this is ever on like a random TV channel. Never watch it. Get the real thing. Don't ruin it.
That's good soup.
But before we determine what we need to watch next time, we need to replenish the sponge supply here with the questions 3.
Who would cross the bridge of death must answer me these questions 3.
3 questions. What if you get a question wrong? Then you are cast into the gorge of eternal peril.
Ask me the questions. I am not afraid.
And we shall watch and pray.
This is the 3 questions, and here's how it works. This week, the producer has written the questions for Jamie G and myself. You get 1 point for a correct answer. Most points win. In the event of a tie, we have tiebreakers. Soup, you're going to get a half a sponge for writing the joint. The winner will also get a half a sponge. And gentlemen, if you wish to cross the bridge of death and end the episode, you must answer me these questions 3, even if it's a Soup, answering them to thee.
Let's go.
Man, you know what, guys? I've been looking forward to this. This is my first hosting of the questions, my first asking of the questions 3, man. And I guess, you know what? Let's just do it, man. Let's just do it. Hopefully it goes well. Mills, I'm going to start with you, man, because you're always asking the questions. You're going to get the first question tonight, man. Question number 1 for Mills is all about the Wu-Tang, man. So, all Wu-Tang members go by numerous aliases when they rap. For example, Method Man has Johnny Blaze and Hot Nichols. Ghostface has Tony Starks and Iron Man. But what is You God's most used moniker?
Nice question.
Besides You God, I mean, the man with the golden arms?
He says the man with the golden arms. All right, Mills. Next up on the joint here, man, is we're gonna touch into the Tarantino universe here, and we're gonna talk about Harvey Keitel. Very liked actor by all of us here. So the question is, Harvey Keitel has been in several of Tarantino flicks, but which movie did he only talk over the phone in?
I'm gonna go Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And we're going to go right back to 4 rooms for this third question. In the 4th room, the bet made is for a 1964 Chevelle Malibu convertible. In which other Tarantino movie do we see that particular vehicle, that 1964 Chevelle Malibu? It appeared in one other movie by Tarantino. Which one is it?
That's a good one. I think you honestly got me there. I'm just going to guess Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown. All right. I like that.
Yep. Yeah, you got to ask Jamie G now. It's his turn under the Gunski.
All right, Jamie G. We're going to kind of keep the same categories going here, man, but I'm going to throw one out there real quick that is not related to anything that I've asked so far with Mills, because this is directly for you specifically, man, and that is a fish question, of course, man. So let's dive right in with a fish question. All right.
Let's go.
We all know that Fish loves to do the Halloween, and we all love the Fish Halloween costumes. It's a big thing. One of their most memorable and famous and well-known ones is when they covered the Beatles' White Album. It is 30 songs on that album, by the way, so that's kind of a tall ask, but they did it and they killed it. We're not going to get into the details, but the question is, when they covered the Beatles' White Album in its entirety in 1994 on Halloween, where did this epic performance take place?
For some reason, my head's telling me Las Vegas, but I know that's not right. It was somewhere like Saratoga Springs or something. I'm going to say, I know it was New York. I'm going to say, I'm going to say not Kill Devil Falls. I'm going to say Glens Falls.
Glens Falls. We're going to go back to the Tang, dude, because I asked Mills a Tang. I'm going to ask you a Tang, too, because, it's not a lot of times I look into the Wu-Tang, man. But anyway, we're gonna ask you one about the Tang, dude, because I know you like the Tang. So the Wu-Tang Clan first became known in 1993 with the release of this independent single, which immediately gave the group a sizable underground following, especially after their tour with Cat New and Cypress Hill. What was the name of that single?
Oh man, I'm gonna say it was. I'm gonna say it was Protect Your Neck, dude. I think that's what gave them their claim to fame. Best Protect Your Neck, dude.
Protect Your Neck. Heard. Okay. And we're going back to Tarantino here for this one, man.
Nice.
All right. In various Tarantino movies, we see this. So, what is the name of the fictitious brand of cigarettes featured in multiple Tarantino flicks, including Four Rooms?
Oh man. I'm gonna guess and say it's something like hot cherry. I'm gonna guess and say hot cherry.
You're guessing hot cherry. Hot cherry, heard. Okay, all right. So we'll start with Mills. Question one here. I asked you what about the Wu-Tang members and what was the moniker used by you got over there. And you were absolutely correct in saying Golden Arms. He calls himself Golden Arms because everything he touches turns to gold, a metaphor for him making every song he's on better. Congratulations, you got that one correct, man. Jamie G, the first question I asked you was about Fish Halloween and one of their Halloween costumes, and where particularly did they do their
was it Saratoga? I wanted to say Saratoga so bad, dude.
I know you did, but it's a good thing you didn't because you were absolutely correct in saying Glen.
Oh, it's Glen Falls.
It was Glens Falls Civic Center in Glens Falls, New York. You were absolutely right about that one. Good call. Good.
Wow. We both got 1 point through one question. Wow. All right, I like this.
So you're tied at 1 here, man. Moving on to question 2. Mills, I asked you, Four Rooms question here, and it was about the 1964 Chevelle. Where else was this car seen in another Tarantino movie? You said Jackie Brown. You were incorrect on that one. That car was seen in Pulp Fiction. Vincent Vega drives in Mia Wallace.
Oh,
damn. Wow, good call, dude. Great question.
Nice. And Jamie G, your second question was the Wu-Tang Clan and their first, how they got their first known single in 1993, what broke them through in the underground scene and everything else. And the first time they got really noticed, and you guessed Protect Your Neck. You are 100% correct on that one. It was Protect. Yeah. So you got that one correct on Protecting Your Neck. So
let's go.
You're up 2-1 right now. Question 3. I asked Mills about the Harvey Keitel, man, that we all are fans of, and the movies that he's been in, and the one movie where he was only appeared on the phone. Mills, your answer was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That is not correct, man. The answer was Inglourious Bastards. Inglourious Bastards. He only appeared on the telephone. 2 wrong, 1 right for you, which brings us to the third question for Jamie G, which was the name brand of cigarettes in several Tarantino movies. They smoke these particular brand of cigarettes. If they're smoking cigarettes, this is what they're smoking. You guessed hot cherry. The answer there is not hot cherry. You were
damn it
on that one. It
was apple.
Heck, a red apple.
Oh, dude, come on! I was in the universe. I had the fruit. Like
you were there with the fruit.
I knew it was something, dude.
But you weren't right. So
I wasn't right. That's fair. That's fair.
That brings us to
hang it off. In the Clerks universe, what brand of cigarettes do they smoke?
I don't think it's a brand. I think it's just a pack of cigarettes, right?
No, there's a brand.
No. Is Lucky Nines?
It's Nails.
Nails.
It is definitely Nails. That's what they.
That goes back to the Beatles calling them coffin nails. You know, that's what they used to call the cigarettes, man. Anyway, what's the score here? What do we got? 2.
Jamie G wins, but I will take the moral victory.
I like that. And you know what?
It's 2 points. I had 1 point. Whatever. I feel it was whatever. The questions were good. But I will not contest the outcome. So Jamie G,
the questions were very good.
You get half a sponge. The soup gets half a sponge for doing it. That was the question 3. And Jamie G, do you need to say anything else other than you love that one fish over?
Guys, that was super fun. Soup, great job. I'm just going to take this moment to say, if you haven't given the thumb, you haven't liked and subscribed to Regular Dudes Watch Stuff, you should go ahead and do it now. That'll also lead you down the rabbit hole to a bunch of other great things that we do. Make sure you don't miss a single solitary thing. Slide in our DMs, hit us up, let us know what you liked, what you didn't. If you haven't watched Four Rooms, go watch it. This was a ton of fun, dudes. Thank you for being dudes along with us, just hanging out as dudes, watching stuff, being dudes.
We're trying to get to a movie.
You better get going. You don't want to miss 1 second of that movie.
Is it that good?
It's the best goddamn movie I've ever seen in my life. Dude hangs dumb.
I told you! That.
Guys, it is time to figure out what we're going to watch next time. I love this. This is what we call a repitch week. And just like it sounds, not too difficult, we're going to repitch something we've already thrown out there into the universe. We tried to get it as the thing we review, and unfortunately, we didn't win. All right, so Soup, you're going to go first here, followed by myself, Jamie G. Esquire the Fifth, also known as Dr. Dick Gott. Magnum Mills is going to run Acre. Soup, what do you think we should watch next time, and why?
Well, you know, I was going over the repitches, man, and I feel like there's some that are kind of under the radar that I don't remember because it's been kind of a lot. But I will take what we got here, or what I got to work with, and I'm going to go ahead and repitch again for probably, I don't know, maybe the third time, maybe the fourth, I don't know. And it's right there on the caliber of the movie we just reviewed. It's kind of like in that same universe, genre, character, or whatever it is, as Four Rooms. It's right there with it, and it is The Last Days of Frankie the Fly. Very under the radar, little known movie. Not a home run, but definitely has the feel of a Tarantino flick. He had nothing to do with this movie, but the actors and the cast is phenomenal. It's got Dennis Hopper, it's got Michael Madsen, it's got Daryl Hannah, it's got Kiefer Sutherland. I mean, this is like I said, it's not going to knock your dick in the dirt kind of movie, but it's good enough for what it is, and it's definitely worth a watch. It will get you dirty. It will definitely get you dirty.
Well, I might not get you dirty, but I'm going to do you wrong here. Guys, I am going to pitch for another time, and I hope it's the final time. I hope you guys get out of your own minds and into reality of watching a hilarious comedy that you need to see. I'm pitching The Wrong Missy. And let me tell you why, for Christ's sakes. Let me just go through some of the stars here. We have David Spade. We have Lauren Lapkus. We have Nick Swardson. We have Molly Sims. We have so many great, Rob Schneider. There are so many great actors in this movie that make side appearances, but that's not even the half. This is a black comedy, a dark, dark, dark comedy, definitely rated R. Great movie here, produced by Happy Madison. Okay, Happy Madison has been known. They should earn our respect. I mean, come on, Grandma's Boy. Like, they should earn our respect. Screenplay by two great guys, Chris Pappas, Kevin Barnett. David Spade here, starring as a single businesswoman who accidentally invites a woman with whom he had the worst possible first date to a corporate retreat in a case of mistaken identity. Absolutely hilarious. Came out in 2020, was one of the best goddamn things of the COVID year. We're not watching it. We're not talking about it. We are not delivering for the people. We have to do The Wrong Missy. Let's go.
Well, Jamie G, your pitch was more enthusiastic, while the Soup Juicer's pitch also offers more kind of, I don't know, panache and like that mid-90s, like, oh, cool, you didn't catch it, whatever. I think I have to go over the top of both of y'all, and I am going to go ahead and take the liberty of repitching one of the Soup Soofies and say, we should watch fucking Kingpin. I had to rewatch this recently to pull some Vanessa Angel stuff for a different thing. I got sucked into Kingpin. There are so many good things going on. This is peak Farrelly Brothers. You have the good parodies, but you also have just excellent character development on the road with Woody Harrelson. And when you bring in Bill Murray as a big Ern McCracken with the hair, and you can't beat it. There are so many fun parts of Kingpin to talk about. We've wanted to do it for a long time. I like having the fun. I don't have to get that cute with it. Sometimes I want to go broad. I want to go big. I want to go back to Lancaster. And I don't care if we don't have a cow and we just have a bull. I'm drinking from the bucket. That's my pitch. Bucket.
Wow, dude. You had to do it, didn't you? Damn it.
That's tough.
Here's how this is going to go down. We've got a couple of incredible movies here. We're going to vote in reverse of the order we just pitched in, and you can't vote for your own Johnson, so you cannot take your own pitch here. If there's a tie, well, we spin the giant wheel in the sky. Mills, you're up first, then me, followed by the soup potentially being the decider.
Easy, but at least I know that I own a copy of The Last Days of Frankie the Fly. He's been pitching it forever. I mean, literally at least 3 years. It's not wrong. So,
I know, man.
Jimmy G, I feel bad, but I am more intrigued by Frankie the Fly, and you're the wrong Missy pitch. I'm sorry, I feel bad, but I am going with Frankie the Fly.
Anybody who plays poker here knows on tilt. I am full-blown on tilt, and just out of spite, I'm going to vote Kingpin, even though it's like a double dick because I hate Mills for choosing Frankie the Fly instead of that, but I don't want to choose Frankie the Fly and let that win, so I'm going to be sabotaging my own greater good and choosing Kingpin. I'm on tilt.
And he says he's not a mathematician.
Not.
Well, Soup, it's up to you, so... you can send it to the wheel, or we can do the Kingpin.
This is incredibly difficult because, I mean, I love Kingpin. I've pitched it myself. And, I mean, it's sweeter than you, dude. But the thing is, we've all seen Kingpin. It will be fun for us to talk about. Bottom line, I'm not going to pick it.
Let's spin the goddamn wheel. Wheel spin. There we go. The wrong Missy. There you go. We're doing the wrong Missy.
There it is. The wheel determined it, man. Just like in Thunderdome, you got to face the wheel. We face the wheel, and the wheel says the wrong Missy. So that's where we are at. Solid. I don't think I'm going to be disappointed here. So we'll check it out. We'll give a full review coming up next time on Regular Dudes Watch Stuff.
Thank you for checking out Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you got any thoughts or feedback, we would absolutely love to hear it. You can drop a comment on this video stream, or you can get at us on our social medias. Just go ahead and slide in them DMs. I'm just like daily, just like responding to people in the DMs. Be one of them. Be one of them, and maybe Jamie G will respond to you if you're lucky. Mills, please remind everyone where they can find us.
Well, you find Jamie G basically doing the social mead thing, but it's more of like the actual like mead, the drink thing, than the social media thing. But it is a combination of the two. As he does like a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, which is basically Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. Thank you for checking us out. You can find us wherever you get your pods and on the YouTube. We are on the web at Dudes Watch Stuff, regulardudeswatchstuff.com. Simple to remember, easy, just like our social media handle at Dudes Watch Stuff. We are right there. No need to forget it. Just like the flaps. If you had fun, follow, like, and please subscribe and give us that thumb. And baby, that's how it's done.
That's right, man. And it is easy like Sunday morning, man. And we are the dudes who watch stuff. We're regular dudes, and we abide.
Norman, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Ted, are you ready?
Ready.
Okie dokie, Norman. Begin.
My finger! My fucking finger, Chester! My fucking finger, man! He shut off my fucking finger! Oh, it hurts! Oh, this shit! Oh, my fucking finger, Chester! He shut off my fucking